Okay, today in my kitchen corner, we're going to be talking about carbohydrates and the importance of eating the proper carbohydrates as you're training, especially if you're looking to bodybuild or powerlift for that matter. It's extremely important to have the right kind of carbohydrates and the right amount because most of your strength and power is going to come from your carbohydrates. For a while there, it seemed like, and this was years ago, and I've been away from the scene for years, not really training or anything, or reading any of the magazines or articles. And it kind of seemed like, I would say in the early 2000s, it seemed like carbohydrates were starting to become the bastard children, and guys were getting to the point to where they were even going very low to no carb up right up until it was time to do a competition. And it just made a lot of them look depleted and flat. There was no roundness or fullness, and they were more worried about whether or not the carb was going to wash out the midsection and get rid of some of the detail in their muscles when they stood up on stage. And they have found more and more over the years that just is not the case. It is actually very important to have the right kind, the proper amount of carbs right up until the day of the show. Carbs are going to fill out your muscle bellies, make them rounder. And as far as training goes, that's going to be where the strength and power comes from. Your body needs those nutrients, and if you're not putting in the right kinds and the right amount of carbohydrates, your workouts are going to be flat, you're going to have no strength, and your body's going to rely on proteins and possibly tearing down the muscle in order to fuel those workouts, which is exactly the opposite of what you want happening during those workouts, because you will not see the results that you're going to want. So for me, years ago when I was quite large, I relied a lot on quinoa, and I've talked about quinoa before and the importance of that. This brand here I have not tried. This is going to be the first day of trying this out. I got this at Sam's Club. The type that I used was Bob's Red Mill, and I just finished this bag. Costco, I know, carries Bob's Red Mill, and Fresh Market, other places like that have it. Very good stuff. So today we're going to be looking at jasmine white rice, which chicken rice. I mean, chicken rice is a staple. This will definitely fill your muscles out, give you the energy you need. For me, I don't get any of the bloat or the I just ate this really huge meal hangover feeling. With this stuff, I can eat this right before working out, and I don't get sick during a heavy workout. I don't feel like I want to throw up. So, got this at Sam's as well. It's a 25-pound bag of jasmine white rice. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be prepping some of my carbs for the day. So, I've got a cup of quinoa, and I've got a cup of the white rice. Got my pans over here. They're already prepped. So, easiest way to prepare. For me, I like garlic, and obviously these two things can be rather bland. So you can either mix them in with your protein and whatever spice and sauce you're using to spice that up to get that flavor. You can eat them bland with nothing on them. What I like to do is I use sea salt for a lot of my seasoning. So I've got a little bit of sea salt in each pan. And then I like to put garlic powder, either garlic salt or garlic powder, doesn't really matter, in with both of them, add a little bit of flavor. Very easy to prepare. With the white rice, it's a 1.5 to 1 ratio. So you're going to have 1.5 cups of water to 1 cup of the rice. And then quinoa is a 2 to 1, regardless of which brand you're using. So you're going to have 2 cups for every 2 cups of water for every cup of quinoa that you're cooking. With the quinoa, we'll kind of turn this around and give you an idea, if you're not familiar with it, on the label here, of the nutritional facts that you'll be looking at. Again, I've said before, with quinoa, it is the only grain out there that has all 8 essential amino acids. You can sit down and eat this by itself and make it a meal if you want. really depending on what your goal is for training or what your goal is for that day. You can gain weight and lose weight using this stuff. It's that good. You just, portion control is really what it's about if you're trying to slim down. If you're trying to gain weight, you can eat a lot of this stuff. Now, with grains, you talk about the caveman diets and paleo and stuff like that, and they talk about eliminating this stuff altogether, and that's fine, that's what works for them. And they get their carbohydrates from different sources, vegetables and things like that. For bodybuilding, I wouldn't really recommend eliminating the oats and the rice and the quinoa, because I think you're going to limit yourself on size and strength. And those are very important factors when you're trying to put on size. Just to give you an idea, now obviously this is not all muscle, but when I started weight training again 4 weeks ago, I started reintroducing the quinoa in my diet, started eating rice again. I really wasn't eating either one of these things hardly ever. And in 4 weeks' time, I put on 23 pounds. Now, obviously, when you're coming right back into something like that, or you're just starting out, you'll always have that initial burst of weight coming on. A lot of it's water retention, things like that. But your muscle bellies are getting full of nutrients, and if you're drinking a lot of water, things like that, that's what's going into the muscle cells. And for bodybuilders, water retention in the muscles is very important, because what are we, 60-70% water? Well, so are muscle cells, 60-70% water. So if some of that is water retention, that's what you want, because without water, you have no strength, you have nothing, you have no living cells or anything like that. So people can talk about, well, that's just bloat, that's just water retention. Well, yeah, it's water retention in the muscle cells. And you want that water in there because it's very important for survival, first off. You'll also see the guys carrying around the big gallon jugs of water while they're training and stuff. Because, especially if you're training, you need at least that gallon of water a day. The water going in, mixing them with the blood, taking the nutrients into the muscle cells, doing the repairs that are needed from the damage from the training. That's what this is all about. And for me, these two things right here are the staples that I use for my carbohydrates. I feel really strong on this stuff, and I grow really fast. My body responds to quinoa very, very well. I will go through, if I've decided to eat quinoa that day, I will do a cup. I'll go through a cup of it in a day. Same thing with the rice. If I do a cup, probably more. Usually with breakfast, you've seen me cook the oats, so I'll do like a cup of oats. And that's how I'll space out my carbs during the day, breakfast with the oats. The quinoa will be mixed with some chicken or whatever else I'm eating. Same thing with the rice. Mix that with my chicken, or sometimes I'll have tuna fish and then I'll eat some quinoa with it. Chicken salad is something that I like to eat as well. So you can play with it and decide what you like with what. However, let's move on to how it's prepared. It's very simple. Saucepans. Okay, they recommend medium saucepans. The quinoa is okay to put in a smaller one. This is a medium saucepan. Put the rice in there because the rice tends to expand a lot more. The quinoa kind of just expands a little bit, but not like the rice does. With the quinoa, when it's complete, what you'll see is that the piece has expanded, and you'll see like a little white tail that's kind of wrapped around it. Exposed. It gets exposed. It's hard for me to describe what it is, but it kind of looks like a little white tail around the grain. When you see that, then you know that the quinoa is done and you don't need to cook it anymore. And obviously, everybody's familiar with rice. Once it's expanded and soft and it has absorbed all the water, it's done. However, for timing purposes, just so that you don't lose track of what you're doing, 15 minutes each. Both of these are 15 minutes. So 2 cups of water, 1 cup quinoa, 1.5 cups of water, 1 cup of the jasmine white rice. What you're going to do is bring both pots to a boil. I have mixed in the salt and garlic powder already. Get both to a rolling boil, and once you do so, you're going to turn it down, both of them down to low. Cover them with tight-fitting lids, hopefully the lids that came with the pots so that they work properly. These have steam relief openings so that, for obvious reasons, they won't go popping off. They'll stay nice and tight, keep the heat in so that the grains can absorb the moisture and cook fully. So again, rolling boil. Once you get there, turn them both down to low, cover them, and then you're going to set your timer for 15 minutes. Once the 15 minutes is up, turn the heat off, remove the pots from heat. You can uncover them to let the steam out faster if you need to eat soon to let them cool down. Or if you're not in a hurry, you can leave the lids on and let them just cool as is. I prefer to take the lids off, let them cool. Quinoa and rice can be stored in the fridge for long periods of time. So you can prep this stuff at the beginning of the week and prep all your meals, or for like me, I prep my food each day. I don't do a week's worth of food. I like to cook it every day. I have the time to do that. Most people do not. So this is stuff that will keep in the fridge for the week. You can put them in the individual containers, or you can put them in a big container and just take what you need for the day. That's the great thing about these two things, is that they last and they don't lose their nutrients after they've been cooked and been sitting in the fridge. So hopefully this is something that if you have not tried, that you will try it, because I really love this stuff and I get great results off of it. I'm telling you what, like I said, 4 weeks in, another 4 weeks, you're going to see an even bigger difference because I'm going to be using this a lot more. Hence the reason for the bigger bag. Anyways, I think that's all I wanted to cover for right now. Just remember, if you're trying to maintain and stay in shape, what I like to recommend and what I've seen work for others and work for myself, 1 gram protein per lean pound of body weight to maintain and staying in the shape that you're in if you're where you want to be. And then I would recommend 1.5 grams protein per lean pound of body weight to keep growing. Some will bump it up to 2 if they're really struggling to put on that size. That's fine. You need to experiment with that stuff and figure out what works for you. Same thing with these carbs. You overdo these carbs and you will start to get fat storage. If you're not worried about that and you just want to be big and strong and keep putting on size, that's fine. Otherwise, read up on how the body responds to carbs, especially the grain-based carbs, and decide what the right amount is for you. When I started, I was 173. I'm up to 206 today. At 206 pounds, lifting heavy, I'm probably going to be around, I don't know, 600 grams of carbs a day, so I can keep growing. If you're maintaining or you want to drop, I would go down to 400 if your body weight is close to mine, and then if you're really getting serious and you just want to hit that cardio, burn that fat, and just have an average looking body that's lean, 200 grams of carbs a day you can probably get away with, but your workouts might feel a little weak. But experiment in those ranges and decide what works for you. Everybody's body is going to respond differently to these things, and the only way for you to know for sure is read up. Don't just take my word for it. You need to go online, read any type of thing, any type of article that deals with dietitians, doctors, people that are professional bodybuilders or athletes that have experimented with the different ranges for carbs and proteins and foods, and try something. Try it for a week or 2, see what happens to your body. The mirror is the best gauge, and then adjust and figure it out. It's really your body. It can be so different from mine. It's like a science experiment. So just experiment with it and discover what works, and then you can start making fine-tuned adjustments from there depending on what your goals are. So good luck with this. If you haven't tried quinoa, I hope you take that step and try it out. But I'm in full swing training and I'm going for it. I'm going to try and make that come back and get to where I want to be. And I'm going to keep going until I collapse. Good luck. hopefully this helps. Hopefully I provided some value again today. And be ready for more videos. I'm going to try and get more work put in here in the kitchen so that I can push you in the right direction. And remember, I do not have a degree. I am not a certified personal trainer. This is not professional advice. This is just purely from my experience with my own body. So don't take it as professional advice, because it is not. Go do your own research. Tweak the information that I've given to you to your own body and figure out what works. And hopefully you will find what you're looking for. Talk to you later.